Hi everyone. I hope you guys have been doing well. For those of you who may not know me, and which I'm pretty sure is the majority of you, in fact, the whole world, because like, who am I kidding? This is for all of you who may not know me. My name is Ramsha. I started a public page on Insta over a little over a year ago, and it doesn't have a lot of followers, but it's just a small community of people that I do sort of regularly stay in touch with, and I hear back from them. And I've been a bit on and off on that page because life gets in the way, and my education has been my priority lately. But it's just I've been using that platform to sort of address things that have that are very close to my heart, and it just sort of share my experiences and offer relatability, which I think makes a huge difference. Just because obviously, I feel like the experiences that I was going through could sort of give hope to people who were in similar situations. And I think that ray of hope helped me personally as well. And I think I wanted to sort of help people while struggling through those battles. It's easier to sort of overcome things and, you know, be giving people sort of inspiration and hope. But I think as you're struggling through it, it's also quite relatable that way. So I'm not, standing over here. I'm sitting actually, but I'm not sitting over here, offering you a, a life changing sort of story with like massive light at the end of the tunnel where I'm like, well, I'm healed and I'm living a perfectly happy life. It doesn't work that way. What I am offering is being able to relate, being able to understand, and being able to talk, because that's something that I've always enjoyed. Just being able to share my experiences with my friends, with people close to me, and hear back, listen back from them, and just communicate. That's something that I love. I'll get into the details of who I am if this goes well, but I sort of want to reach out to this platform as well. And the topic for today is something that's been quite relevant in my life lately, which is why I've been sort of absent from my social media as well for a while. And I feel like this is mental health is something that is to be taken quite seriously, to be honest. And obviously there's a growing awareness, there's growing awareness, and obviously that's a relief. But although there's growing awareness compared to back in the day, there's still a lot of stigma. There's a lot of shames, a lot of like embarrassment related to this topic as well. And I feel like a lot of times when someone tries to acknowledge that there's a problem, when someone tries to sort of understand that maybe something's off, maybe there's this unshakable, unsettling feeling concerning maybe something that may have happened years back, or something that they're struggling with or dealing with in the present. Oftentimes when they try to sort of share that experience with people, what they get in return is actually dismissal, is actually, what you're feeling is it's not that big of a deal. And how people usually do it is not literally saying it and putting it that way. It's like, well, what's wrong? You have a roof over your head, you have good clothes to wear, you have good food to eat, you've got a good family. What's up with you? And while I do believe, yes, happiness should be sought in the simplest of things, and yes, although you should be grateful for the blessings that you have, but being grateful for blessings or being struggling to cope with something is different than being ungrateful for what you have. And I feel like sometimes people aren't really, they're coming from a place of like tough love, and they think that maybe offering you that is going to sort of be helpful. But sometimes it sort of backfires, and what it does is that it actually invalidates the person's feelings and makes them feel like what they're going through is not important enough. And oftentimes there's also a lot of comparison when somebody tries sharing what they're going through or why that's bothering them. Oftentimes what happens is that people make comparisons. Like, for example, let's take two completely but somehow relatable examples in terms of grief. One person, one woman losing her husband dies, and the other woman has just left a toxic relationship that she's been a victim of abuse. And while that woman is sort of grieving that toxic relationship or what she's been through, someone might be like, well, you see that woman, she just lost her husband. So you're basically comparing the loss of life, and you're making that woman feel invalidate her feelings by sort of highlighting that and saying, well, you have the gift of life. But that's not how it works. She's still, even if she's breathing, she's lucky to be breathing, yes. But it doesn't sort of, how does that invalidate what she's going through? She has emotions, she has feelings. So when you invalidate someone's feelings, and this is just one example, what you might be going through might be work related, education related, maybe it may be related to toxic relationships, toxic situations, traumatic events, maybe the loss of a death one, anything at all. So and I think everyone reacts to things differently. I feel like everyone's normal looks different. So what might be quite high on the spectrum of, you know, loss, or maybe something that is worth sort of struggling for someone, might for another person that might just be like, well, the everyday cup of tea, and it's just, I feel like you might have lived a different experience, and that's what sort of separates us, doesn't it? Like, we all come to the world in the same way. What makes us different from each other? What makes us different is our experiences, how we're born, how we're raised, how the experiences, and how we've been brought up, everything that we've lived. Our life is what sort of separates us, over here, because everything that we've been through, it creates, that's what shapes our brain. And you cannot possibly comprehend what the other person is going through, or even if you're quite possibly in the same situation, you might be able to deal with it quite differently compared to the person next to you. And I feel like that comparison is quite unsettling, and it actually is quite detrimental, because you not only invalidate their feelings, you make that comparison, and that just sort of makes them crawl back into their shell. And when they do that, it leads to a further mess, because now they're not only struggling to cope with a certain thing that was on their mind, or maybe just a feeling, a feeling of that they're not being able to cope, but they're not even aware of where this is stemming from. It might be something relating to their childhood. It might be something relating to their present. It might be something they can't really pinpoint. But when they're coming to talk to you about that certain situation, invalidating what they're feeling is the last thing that you should be doing. Because when that happens, it's sort of like, oh yeah, maybe I'm just making this up. Maybe I'm making a big deal out of it. Maybe someone has it worse. Because yes, someone will always have it worse, but someone will always have it better as well. If you start making that comparison, that is not right. Because when you look at people, when you look at people who have it better than you, you are claimed to be envious. But when you look at people who have, like, when you're trying to sort of assess your situation and you're being told to look at people who have it far worse than you, it doesn't work that way. Your experience is your own. Only you know what you're going through. And when we invalidate other people's feelings and what they're going through, what that leads to is them not only struggling with what they're dealing with, or what they're not even realizing what they're dealing with, but just struggling to deal with. It not only just puts that on the list, but it starts adding things on the list, further things which we then claim to be their baggage. And then we sort of just label someone as just damaged goods. And I think this is a vicious cycle. So this is something I would sincerely sort of, if you're sincerely sort of put out there, if you are someone who's guilty of doing this, whether you're doing it unintentionally, if you've been doing this, I would sort of, just ask you to see things from the other person's point of view, from their perspective. You might live a different life. You might be, of a different age, from a different culture, religion. Your experiences might be different. You cannot possibly comprehend what the other person is going through, or how they are perceiving what they're going through. And invalidating is the worst thing that you can do, actually. And for those who are actually personally going through this, I can relate. So I'm here not as just someone sort of giving someone, I do not have the clinical right to be addressing all of this. I'm not a licensed professional. I'm not giving any professional advice, like I've said. But I've been on that end where that something's wrong. That something's bothering you, something's nagging at you deep down. There's just this feeling of frustration that you can't possibly cope with things. And you might even feel like talking to someone won't help. But my advice to those people who are feeling that feeling of helplessness, hopelessness, that feeling of, I know what's bothering me, but I don't know how to cope with this. Or I've never struggled to cope with something. Why am I struggling now? Or, you know, I don't even know what's bothering me, but something is. But you just know that there's an unshakable feeling, and you know it. When you know it, you know it. You can try to put it, you can try to sort of brush it away, but it always comes back. And when that happens, when that's just a feeling that keeps popping up, my advice to you would be that you need to acknowledge it. The first thing that you can do to help yourself, and you need to be the first one to help yourself. People can offer help, but no one's going to offer, or no one's going to want to help you as sincerely, or no one can help you as personally as you yourself can and will. You have to. The first step that you need to take is that you need to acknowledge what you're going through. You need to acknowledge that there's a problem. You need to acknowledge that, all right, there's something that's bothering me. And I think that self-awareness is the first step in the positive direction, to be very honest. And you need to be helping yourself unapologetically before anyone else can help you. But at the same time, if you feel like you need a helping hand, friends and family and loved ones are there in your life for a reason. And it might be the case, not everyone's going to invalidate. Maybe someone's going to be welcoming you with open arms. And maybe that's just exactly what you need. So do not be afraid to at least let it out. Do not suffer in silence. Do not suffer in silence, because there will always be someone who's willing to listen. There will always be someone who's willing to give you and lend you that helping hand. And you need to make that first move. Asking for help is not a bad thing. And when I say that, it's not too big of a deal if you go up to someone and be like, well, you know what, this is what I'm going through. And I think that I'm sort of struggling to deal with this. They might not be professionally able or capable of helping you out, but they can hear you out. They can sort of give you that push. And I think sometimes that's all that you need. And I promise you, there will always be someone who cares. There will always be someone who's willing to listen, but you need to take that first step, because no one's going to jump into your mind and be like, well, tell me what's up. You need to be the one to sort of, acknowledge that something's up. And then acknowledging it, accepting it. Acknowledging and accepting are, I think, the first step to sort of being like, well, yeah, I think I need to address this. And I'll also say that there's a lot more. This is a very sensitive topic, like I've said, and there's a lot of depth to it. I don't think that I can possibly cover this in like just a few minutes. But what I can say is that I'm not trying to advocate for therapy, but I do think that sometimes professional help is very helpful. And a lot of people sort of, from all parts of the world, I've sort of communicated with people, and I've sort of been like, heard like, oh, they get paid for this. They get, like paid to just like have you vomit your issues, and they go home and they have a laugh. Well, no, it doesn't work that way. These people are there for a reason. If you think that it's way beneath you, if you think that giving someone, paying someone to help you in with something that they are actually, they've professionally qualified to do, if you think that that's embarrassing or that's just not your thing, well, we pay people to help us in all aspects of our lives. We pay lawyers. I myself am studying law. I myself am a lawyer. So we pay lawyers to help with our, legal work. We pay doctors to literally save our lives. I mean, you're saving someone to save your life. If that doesn't sort of, acquire a laugh, I don't know what does. So, you literally pay everyone. Like, everything in life is a bit transactional. You pay people for the services that they provide you with. And it's not just a selfish act. They've invested their lives into giving you and providing you these services that they're getting paid for. It's give and take. It's not like you give me money, haha, you need me. It's I need you, you need me. So people who sort of laugh at therapy, people who think that therapy is unneeded, unnecessary, and mental health is just a self-created issue, it's sort of a luxury than a necessity. I feel like that's quite unfair, because this is serious and this can be quite detrimental. There are people out there suffering in silence. There are people out there suffering even though they've shared with people. They've gotten extremely negative, sort of like dismissive sort of responses, like, oh, well, this is not a big deal. I feel like there should be more awareness, because this can literally be life threatening at times. And what I'm here to tell you is that life is not easy. And especially in today's era, I think we've set the standard of happiness so high, and social media has heavily contributed to that. There's a lot of good that social media has done, but there's a lot of damage that it has done as well. And we've sort of, created there's a self-created false standard of happiness that's just made happiness sort of just unattainable. And there's just so much of pressure concerning work, education, marriage, relationships. There's just so much of pretending these days. And what people fail to sort of, talk about, or what people fail to just, like, they do not want to address this, is the reality of things, that life is messy. That couple that you see might be posing and might be seeming happier than ever, might have just fought, might be on the verge of a divorce. So do not fall for everything that you see. But that's a different thing. That's a different topic where we can discuss social media and its negative and positive influences. But for now, I think mental health is something that I would like to address, because I've been living away from home for a while, and this past year has been quite an eye opener, quite educational for me. There's a lot that I've had to sort of experience. One day I may be getting into the details of that, but for now, what I will say is that I've now come to realize that not being able to cope with things, and I wouldn't say mental health issues, but you can definitely, I think, struggle. The struggle can hit you at any point in your life. You might think that, why me? Oh, I've dealt with things like this before. Why me now? But when it happens, and it happens to the best of us, and it happens to everyone. So this is to sort of let you know that whatever you're going through, we might not be going through the exact same situation, but whatever you're going through, someone out there is going through the same. And before anyone can help you, you need to help yourself and sort of give yourself that nudge, get up and be like, you know what, I think I do need help. And it doesn't have to be, it's not just mental help, it's emotional help. It's just that help to sort of be like, well, there needs to be self-awareness, there needs to be acknowledgement, and there needs to be just that, that inclination to sort of let the world, let the universe help you get out of this. And again, this is a topic that I can go on for a while now. What my experiences have been in this past year and everything that I've gone through, I would love to share that with you guys. But I'm still going through it myself. I can't say that I've found a magical loophole around the healing that I needed to do, and around, I'm just this person who has everything sorted out. No, but I've pulled myself out of a very dark phase of my life, and I do have people, a good support system to thank for that. But I think more than that, I have myself to thank for that as well. And I'm just here to sort of just let you guys know that whatever it may be, someone out there is going through the same. Someone out there can relate to you, and someone out there cares. Someone out there cares enough for you to not be going through that. And before that, I hope that you care enough to sort of be like, you know what, I think I need to do something about this. And asking for help, or sort of reaching out and grabbing someone's hand, it's the best thing that you can do. It's literally, there's nothing wrong in that. Accepting that there's something wrong, acknowledging that something needs to be done about something, is not a cause or a reason for embarrassment. So this is just me letting you know that it's all right, whatever you're going through, and that there is light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to sort of be willing to pass through that tunnel. So let's see how this goes. Let's see if anyone is willing to hear more. And there's a lot more that I discuss. I am someone who is I was diagnosed with PCOS when I was 19, so I talk a lot about polycystic ovarian syndrome. I talk about, I was recently diagnosed with endometriosis as well, and that's another thing that I could discuss as well. I'm an advocate for body positivity, and there's just a lot that I can discuss and that I would like to discuss and hear back from people and sort of, learn from your experiences and learn how you've been handling things and sort of share what I've been doing to sort of cope with all of this. So I hope this goes well, and I hope that you guys got something from this, and I hope to talk to you guys soon. Bye bye. Take care.